let me tell you, number one, Putin loves Israel. And I heard this from him before he got to know Netanyahu. He came here, he was invited to Israel when he was deputy mayor of St. Petersburg, at that time Leningrad. He visited the country. He came back home and he told his wife, we are taking a trip to Israel. I want our kids to see how people were able to turn a desert into a land of milk and honey. And he said he took his family and traveled Israel from north to south, from Matula till Beersheba, till Eilat. He really went and saw everything. And he was really impressed for what he saw. And he says, it's something that we can learn from. That's number one. Number two, you have over 1 million Russian-speaking Jews living in Israel. That's a very strong connection with Russia. He feels that this is a strong bridge that can help. Number three, I think Israel has been a good friend to Russia. If you look today, what's going on in the world, sanctions and all of that, Israel has shown that, their friendship is strong, and I think that that was an important message. I also think he realizes that mistakes that were made through the Soviet regime, to stand up and help the Arab countries against Israel was a political mistake and doesn't make any sense. So I think adding up all these points, plus I think he likes strong leaders. I think Bibi is one of them. But he has liked Sharon, and he loved Peres. I remember many different events when we were sitting together. And he really, I think he has shown to many countries that if you are friendly with Russia, Russia will be friendly with you. And Israel was able to show that.
I accept what you say, Chief Rabbi, and yet it worries us here in Israel that we also see Putin supporting Assad in Syria and the Iranian regime, and we wonder how things actually work in reality. How can you support both sides of a conflict? And especially the situation in Syria, which is so tragic, and Russia has such a key role in the region. Do you see it as positive or a negative thing that he seems to be playing both sides?
So I'm not so well versed in everything that's going on in Syria. I know a few things that I can mention here. Number one, there's practically a daily briefing coming from Russia to Israel, Israel to Russia, about what's going on in Syria. The defense minister in Russia has been in touch with Israel on many, many different issues. And Putin does believe, and he said this many different times at different events, even in the community, that Syria with Assad right now is better for Israel than Syria without Assad.